My name is Trevor Walsh, Impeccable Defense. I have Adam here, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about his background and what happened with him and his ownership of a Byrna, and how it really saved a situation from escalating, in my opinion, to a real bad situation. So, Adam, take it away. Tell us your background, like where you come from, obviously your service to our military and our country.
Hi, my name is Adam Alexander, and as far as my service to the military, I was in the Navy. I was only in for 19 months, 6 months into my deployment when I got sent home. And ever since then, I've been having a lot of issues with PTSD, many psych visits and such. So years later, I now have a service dog from an organization called Northwest Battle Buddies. They train and provide service dogs to veterans with PTSD, completely free of charge, $25,000 service dogs.
Now, Adam, a quick question. My understanding is that's pretty much we have a son-in-law who's also deals with PTSD and was a sniper in the Army. So, I mean, this is firsthand experience for us as me and my wife. Obviously,
Right.
It's my wife's daughter's husband. Great guy, but yeah, deals with it hardcore. And my understanding is that's pretty much the #1 organization for service dogs for PTSD military vets. Is that correct, or at least one of the best?
I would definitely say yes. I mean, they say it is. Like, when I was going through the course, they definitely, they tell you, like, when you graduate, you're going to know more about dog psychology training and, like pack order and such than 99.99999% of the world. And that's just like a statistic from going through and passing through the course. And, they're like, you wear it with a badge of honor, at least don't be arrogant about that. So, but, yeah, I personally do think that it is probably like one of the very leading organizations that do what they do. Yes, specifically for veterans. Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really good. We're big dog lovers, so it's kind of a side note. It has nothing to do with this interview, but I just think dogs are the greatest creations since sliced bread, in my opinion. They're just great. Okay, so tell us your story.
No,
Tell us your story is amazing. I just think everyone needs to hear it.
So I want to start like with when I originally got my Byrna. I didn't have like anything for home defense or self-defense, and I had my car window broken into when I went out in the morning, and I found that. So then I started looking up like things that I could get, and the first thing that I ever found was the Umerix HDR 50. Like, that's kind of small. It's to go for carrying. It's got the very inconvenient, like, you have to smack the punch button real hard. And it's just not, it's not something that I wanted to carry. And I discovered Byrna. And I didn't even know about pepper ball being a thing. And I just watched some videos on YouTube with people getting shot with the pepper balls. And I was like, this is something that I want.
What you really mean is you want to be able to deploy and not get hit with.
Right. Absolutely. And so, yeah, I ended up getting my first Byrna. I got the Tan SD. And I had it for like 11 months. So I bought it in June, and then of May 9th, the following May 9th, I had my service dog for like 2 months at that point. And I was in a park with her. It's a park that I frequent a lot, specifically because it's in a very nice location, and there's always her there. So it's just awesome to me. So I'm out in the field playing with her, and I know there is leash laws everywhere. And I know that my dog, I'm very confident in her recall. I have absolutely no doubt that she's gonna come right to me. And so I'm out in the field, I'm playing with her, and it's a really big open field, so I can see pretty much 360 all around. And I notice somebody who's on his bike just doing laps around the park. And as he's coming around on my side, he's still probably like a good 50, 60 yards away at this point. So he's not even like that close. I see he has his dog running next to his bike, and I see a leash dangling down from his handlebar. So I assume, I hate using that word, but
yeah, everyone does, but you have to use it sometimes.
I figured that the dog was leashed. So as they're running by, I'm actually looking at them, and I have my body pressure on the dog, because dog psychology, it's a big thing, having body language towards the dog. It's going to make them not want to, be more inclined to come into your space. So I'm watching them. They're going around. I'm still staring at them. And then, okay, they're pretty much gone. They're not paying me any attention. I look back down at my dog, who I have her in a down directly next to me, like right next to me. So let me back up for 2 seconds. As they're coming around on the bike, I called my dog to me. I put her in a down. I took her toy. I stuck it in my left cargo pocket. Okay, now we can fast forward a bit. So they're going away, and I'm like, okay, I pull the toy out of my pocket. I look down at my dog, and just barely in my peripherals, I just see this other dog just plow right into mine. Like, it hit her full speed that it actually like rolled off of her. So it tumbled off of her, flipped back around, like it was going to come right back towards us. And this situation was it was so quick how it occurred that it wasn't like I even had a couple of seconds to think, oh, I might have to do this. I might have to deploy my Byrna. I didn't get a think at all. I thought I was just standing there with my dog, and then bam, she's just got ambushed by another dog. And it plays through my mind almost in images. It's really hard for me to like actually play it through, like, so fluid. But I remember it hitting her. It rolled off of her, came back around. I ran up between them, and it was kind of pivoting, like running around us. And at that point, I remember just grabbing my Byrna, and I just started shooting at it. I don't remember how many shots I got off at the time. Once it started fleeing and it got to be about, 15 feet away, I stopped firing at it. When I counted my magazine when I got home, I had fired 5 of the 7 shots. They were all kinetic, which I never carry kinetic when I'm outside. That was just me not thinking. I always switch my magazines to my Duke pepper balls.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm going to be in an outside environment.
Right.
I only use the kinetics indoor because I don't want to contaminate anybody else or myself. But they did the job. I ended up shooting at it, and I knew it was kinetics because I saw my last 2 shots. I just saw the yellow projectile fly out. I will say those last 2 shots missed. That's why I saw them. The dog was running away, and yeah, I saw him fly out and hit the grass. I don't know about the first 3. I don't remember that at all. I just remember the dog. He left. He ran back towards the owner. The owner threw his hands up like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I just yelled back at him, it's less lethal. Your dog will be fine. He said nothing. He just leashed it, got on the bike, and left.
Now the next question, which everyone's going to ask, obviously, when they see this interview, and obviously I saw your story in a post on one of the biggest non-lethal forums in the world, which is I believe it's Charles Byrna Owners Group, if I remember right, is where I saw it. And Charles is good people, and so it's a great group. A lot of people with a lot of good stories, but I just found yours fascinating. But the next question everyone's going to ask is, did the cops come? Did someone call the cops, and what happened afterwards?
Right. So It's amazing because like I've posted this story and people are like, please tell me your address so I can send the cops to your house. And it's like, do people not think like, what happens in these situations? So park is literally right next to a school, right next to an elementary school. There were kids at the actual playground equipment, probably 20, 30 feet behind me. So right after this happened and I secured my dog, she was still just laying on the ground like, what the hell is going on? And so, excuse my language, but I secured my dog. And the first thing that I did, it took me like a minute. I had to walk for a minute, clear my head. And then I decided I should call the police. And I called the police. I let them know, hey, I just discharged my my less lethal Byrna pepper ball gun at a unleashed dog in the park who was attempting to attack the dog and possibly myself even. And the dispatcher, once I told her it was a Byrna pepper ball pistol, she instantly was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I know." Like, so she was familiar, at least, maybe not the brand, but with what pepper ball is.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her there was other parents at the park. Everybody seemed to be playing and being normal, but there was one woman who left with her children, and she was on the phone walking away and like totally staring at me from the corner of her eye. So I'm like, she's calling the cops on me. So I let them know, and so the dispatcher told me as of this point we don't have any calls. But I gave her my name and number, address, and everything. If anything comes in, I'd be more than glad to talk to any officers. They weren't interested in sending any out. I sat in my car at the park for about 15 minutes, collecting myself before I wanted to leave because I don't know. It's such a situation that I just didn't expect. Even if you're like being mugged or in combat or anything, you at least are thinking something's happening. I need to do something. I had no time to think at all. It was just right there. And I'm glad that I practice with my Byrna very regularly, at least a few times a month. I live in an apartment and it's quiet enough that I can shoot in here and not disturb my neighbors. So that's a good plus to having the CO2 less lethal.
That is really nice. That's a good. You bring up so many good points. I mean, we can go through this video over and over again. You bring up a lot of really good points. Practice, the need for practice. The main thing I would say, or I would leave this interview with, in my opinion, you could tell me what your thoughts are on this, is that this is the whole reason non-lethal or less than lethal works. Why there's a space for it and why it belongs. I mean, firearms or taking a life or taking the life of an animal or a human, typically they say about 2 to 3% of the time in interactions between criminals and police is lethal force needed, and about 97% of the time non-lethal force is needed. I don't know what it's like in the military. I can't remember the stats, but that's what it's like in regular police force in the United States. So only about 3% of the time do you need lethal force. And you demonstrated a perfect example of loving dogs like we do, like you do, obviously. Like almost everyone loves dogs. And it's just the way Americans love dogs. People love dogs. They're the greatest things ever. I have a pile of them. I can't handle people ever hurting a dog. You didn't hurt a dog. You used a non-lethal weapon to save your dog's life, possibly yours, or at least getting hurt, and possibly their dog getting put down if it did damage to your dog. There's so many good results about this whole thing, in my opinion. People might say, well, he hurt a dog. No, he didn't. And I would adamantly go to war on this issue. You did the right thing, because I'll tell you what, you have a right at that point, if you had a firearm, to drop that dog to save your life. But you did the right thing. You were armed with a Byrna. You practiced. You know what you're doing. You were immediately able to defend your dog's life, your life, and the other dog's life, because we both know if that dog would have got a hold of your dog, even if both dogs survived, by law, their dog probably would have had to been put down. End of story. So
And
the
that's
end
the
of
thing
the story, and the reason we're doing this interview is that, in my opinion, you saved two dogs' lives, your life, the other guy probably from getting a criminal, citation or something to that effect, maybe civil. And maybe your last thoughts on that.
No, you're absolutely right with that too, because again, I actually in my post I've had people who are upset and message me things like that. Um, and in law enforcement, they call it an awful but lawful situation. And with my service dog, if she gets, you know, with her eye, or her pads, or anything, she can't serve me, and that's $25,000 down the drain. Or at least she's out of commission while she'd be recovering, and then I don't have my service animal. So protecting my dog is an absolute huge thing. And I am very glad, because I also thought about the fact that, yeah, that guy's dog could have been killed, or would have had to been put down. And then that would have been very awful for him, but he would have also, like you said, had some sort of citation or fine. That all went through my head as well afterwards. And I do think more people should carry a less lethal option for sure.
I think everyone should. I mean, it's really, is it even a discussion? I mean, really,
No,
honestly.
you're right. You're
I have
right.
people that are Navy SEALs, ex-Navy SEALs, Rangers. I've skydived with Delta Force, the baddest dudes in the world, and they all are in agreement. Firearms are not the answer to every situation, period. If you think they are, you're one of those gun owners that should not own a gun. End of discussion. So you're right, Adam.
I see them all the time. Talking when you're talking about less lethal, and they'll be like, "Oh, I've got my Glock 19 or whatever." And it's like, there's so many situations where it's like, yes, you killed that guy, but if you had less lethal, hypothetically, you could have not killed them. And I hate the response of, well, why do you mess around with, like, it's your life, you don't play around, just kill them. And a lot of the times you can agree with that, but the vast majority of situations, less lethal will solve your problem.